up, our first inductee tonight is Dennis Grant, and he's going to be introduced by Hall of Fame coach Judy Saxton. Judy?
You know, I should have told Kevin ahead of time that very few people in this room know who Judy Saxton is. I'm really Sarge. You know, I find myself in this position almost every year. And trust me, that's okay because I love doing it. Once again, this Hall of Fame has given me the opportunity to introduce someone for whom I have the highest regard. Dennis Grant has been a great contributor to Windsor High Athletics. He has done this in so many ways. First, as a teacher to the athletes, once as a coach, as a talented, very talented photographer, and most importantly, as their greatest fan. Dennis was always there to support our teams. When I was coaching field hockey, he became our official team photographer. He was there all season long, taking pictures and putting together a slideshow for our banquet at the end of the season. Now, I know some of you are probably too young to even know what a slideshow is, but it was a great way to relive the memories of the season. Now, this all happened. Oh, I forgot to bring my bag up. Time out. I'm sorry. Now, I was telling you about Dennis putting on this slideshow for us at the banquet. Well, as I started to say, this was like 30 to 40 years ago, and things have changed quite a bit in that time. But then we had very strict rule against swearing. And in order to enforce this rule, anytime you slipped, you were fined. And in order to keep track of the fines, one of my teams made it easier. They gave me this gift to collect the fines, Miss Piggy. Now, I didn't keep the money. The money all was given to Dennis as a gift to help offset the cost of all the slideshows that he did for us, because that work doesn't come free. I don't think he had, did you have a dark room in your basement? Oh, you did. So you were doing your own developing. At any rate, it was just so wonderful for all of us, for the team, for me. We couldn't have appreciated it more. And I hung on to this for 100 years for a good reason. Dennis also frequently acted as photographer for many of the other teams, as well as other school events. For example, I know he did go to proms, took pictures, and gave the pictures to the kids. Dennis is a homegrown boy. He graduated from Windsor High, UConn, and then went back to his own high school to teach math for 35 years. He was an incredible teacher. Back in the dark ages, we did a thing called hall duty, where we had a period where we walked the halls to make sure there weren't any kids goofing off someplace they didn't belong. But I would frequently pause outside Dennis's room and listen to him teaching. He was fascinating. You know, I can't imagine a kid ever being bored in his room, and I know they learned math. The state committee made a gross mistake when he was only named runner-up for Connecticut Teacher of the Year in 1986. We all know he was the best. He only coached 1 year as an assistant to Jerry DeLiveron in softball, but he was a gifted coach as well. As athletic director, I kept trying to hire Dennis every time I had an opening. Unfortunately, he kept saying no. I've always been convinced that good teachers, if they want to, can be great coaches. You know, I look at the coaches I've known who have been really good coaches, and almost every one of them is a really good teacher as well. You can learn the skills, you can have somebody else demonstrate them, but a good teacher will get that team to produce. A little note on a little more personal side. Dennis and I were members of a card group of 4 Windsor High School teachers who played a lot of bridge together for many years. And at some point during the chit-chat between hands, we all realized that somewhere in our lives, we all had a nickname that started with the letter B. Dennis's name, I believe, was given to him by athletes. It was, for what used to be, very obvious reasons, Bernie. Now he walks in here tonight, first time I've ever seen him without the sideburns. He ruined my one dig. I'm sure you can tell that I have great respect for this man, and it's just an incredible honor to be able to introduce him as this year's inductee as special contributor to athletics, Dennis Grant.
I do wish those kids had sworn more. Thank you very much for those kind words and that beautiful introduction, Judy. I do appreciate it. I would also like to thank the Hall of Fame committee, both for selecting me among this superb group of honorees this evening, as well as working around my unpredictable and somewhat uncertain schedule. And for those of you who are attempting to reconcile my 35 years of teaching at Windsor High School and now 7 more years at Nuntuck since then, I just want you to know that I did begin teaching when I was 8 years old. So if you do the math, it all works out in the end. Maya Angelou once said, "My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style." I'd like to think I've shared this mission and this advice with all of my students and peers. There are 2 kinds of jobs you can work at. One type, perhaps the more abundant, is the sort you simply work for the paycheck. You count the hours celebrating each day's conclusion and live for the weekends and the occasional vacation. The other type of job is one that brings you joy. You look forward to going in to do fulfilling work with wonderful colleagues and engaging clients. I was fortunate enough to experience, at my time at Windsor High School, the latter of those 2 types of jobs, led by capable and effective administrators, staffed with enthusiastic and knowledgeable faculty, guiding one of the most amazing student bodies I've ever witnessed. Windsor High was a place where these things routinely happened. In these working environments, people often feel compelled to go beyond their job descriptions, and I was one of those people. You see, 40 years ago, not every person carried a camera along with them every second of every day, with a high-definition lens and the ability to take thousands of photographs stored in memory in the size of your thumb. In 1976, we used this bizarre material called film and spent hours in odd places known as dark rooms to generate the images that we captured. And when I provided photographs to coaches, parents, and student athletes, their appreciation was more than enough to drive me to want to do more for them. You see, special people generate special results. If it were not for the people in the athletic department at Windsor High School, I can't believe that I would have produced the work I did. And knowing that I'm going to leave a few people out, and I'll name a few who immediately come to mind, I'd like to thank Judy Saxton, Barry Chasen, Bill Lazinski, Charlie Vola, Sandy Files, Phil Milkars, Erica Boysick, and Ken Smith in particular. Parents have also long been a source of inspiration for me. More than once, a parent has come to me and said, I know you gave this picture to my child, but it was actually a gift to me. And then there are the countless students whose growth athletically, emotionally, and in character and leadership was a joy to witness. Yes, to me, Windsor High School was that second type of job, with a superb leadership, dynamic colleagues, and amazing clients that we worked for and with every day. So tonight, I say thank you to all those people, many of whom are in this room right now, that inspired me to go a bit beyond what was expected. I'd also like to thank my family, who have always been very supportive. I appreciate this honor, and I'm grateful to the Windsor High School athletic community for their contribution to our community for so many years. Thank you very much.
One more round of applause for Judy and our Hall of Fame inductee, Mr. Dennis Grant. I don't know, I'm imagining our next inductees is no different than me. We're glad, Ken, that there weren't those cameras when we were at Dixon and Susquehanna. We wouldn't be here today. It was really a pleasure meeting our next inductee, Ken, who had a great athletic career at Susquehanna with the Crusaders. They're still the Crusaders to me. And it's awesome to see that you have so many friends and family here. I heard something like 40. It speaks volumes about you as a person. Here to induct the second member of the class of 2017, if we could please welcome up Bob Bunzo.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to extend my congratulations to all of tonight's Hall of Fame inductees and their families. Just great accomplishments. Well done. Now, I've been working on my speech for a very long time. And I got a call from Ken last night that said, panic time, we need to cut the speech in half, time-wise. So I was 32 minutes, so we're going to be right on target. But I'm here to say a few words about my good friend and now Hall of Famer, Kenneth Mark Johnson. Before I start, though, I have to say this. I just want to go on the record and say, I have no idea if the Russians meddled in our presidential politics, but the fact that I'm up here speaking for Ken Johnson means someone's interfered with this election. Now, I know the other speakers are going to come up here and say things like, what a wonderful night, what an honor to be asked to speak, I'm so proud to be. Baloney, not me, I'm here because I lost a bet. I'm here speaking for Ken because really he had no choice but me. Look around, you probably noticed all these triplets and doubles and everything. All the Johnsons all look alike. He has 5 brothers, Phil, Dave, Roger, Steve, and Tim. A couple of them couldn't be here tonight because of travel restrictions and things. And then, feel sorry for her, but he has his sister Beverly here as well. Any one of them would have been able to deliver a marvelous, wonderful speech. The problem was, when they heard the news, they were all speechless. Ken and I have been really good friends for many, many years. We're very close. We've been through a lot together. So, brothers, I hope you don't mind me saying this publicly. Ken and I are so close that I consider myself a Johnson brother. But I'm the one with hair. So let me tell you about the Ken Johnson that I know. He's a modest man, but let's face it, he's got a lot to be modest about. Now, I just have to clear this up because I'm going to stumble here. So depending on how and when you first met him, you'll address him by different names. His mom called him Kenneth. Others refer to him as Ken or Kenny or KJ, or the name he gave himself in college, King Party. Some people call him names I can't repeat in a public forum. But if you know him from college, like my table over there, we call him Max. So How he got that name's a great story. It's way too long for tonight, but I just needed to mention it because I'm going to, say Max many, many times. I first met Max 40 years ago when we lived across the hall from each other, freshman year at Susquehanna University. I always liked him, but then I have no taste. I don't know how this friendship got started because this was a classic case of opposites attract. I was tall. I was handsome. I was sophisticated, I was erudite, and I was suave. And he was, well, take a look. He doesn't even know what half those words mean. Right now, he's saying suave, suave. Why is Bunzo up there talking about shampoo? I don't even use shampoo. But for whatever reason, we hit it off, and to this day, we remain best friends. That took a while, though. The man has some quirks. More than some, he has a lot. Too many to list, but my favorite is this habit he has of every 5 minutes placing a finger up to his nostril to make sure he's still breathing. So we'd be walking to class, and he's doing... I'm like, dude, if you weren't breathing, you'd be dead. You'd be lying on the sidewalk. But no, getting to know Max doesn't mean just putting up with the quirks. It really means putting up with two main things: his ego and his cheapness. Now, those of you that know him know I'm right. Man, the man is tight with a buck. He does write checks to charity. He just doesn't sign them because he prefers to donate anonymously. His cheapness, though, is actually nothing compared to the ego. There's so many stories to tell about the ego, I don't know where to start, but let me sum it up this way. Max once told me that if he ever becomes an atheist, it's going to be because he no longer believes that he's God. I don't know how his beautiful wife Wallace puts up with him, but their marriage is all about love. It really is. It's beautiful. Look at the two of them over there. You can see it. It's so obvious. Wallace obviously loves Ken, and Ken obviously loves Ken. Another classic ego story. The greatest picture ever taken of Max was for our freshman yearbook. And even I have to admit it was a fantastic picture. The hair was perfect, although that didn't take too long. The mustache was trimmed just right. Even his shirt and tie matched. He really did look like a movie star. As a matter of fact, the picture was so good that Max decided to use it for the freshman yearbook and the sophomore yearbook and the junior yearbook and the senior yearbook. I'm not sure if that story is about his ego or his cheapness. He just didn't want to pay for the new picture. But Max would always tell me about what a great athlete he was up here at Windsor High School, whether it was track or football or basketball. I'd have to listen to all the stories. Like the time he had to cover Rod Foster, a Connecticut high school basketball legend who became a UCLA Bruin and then later played for, I believe, the Phoenix Suns in the NBA. Max was very proud that he shut Foster down and held him well below his season average. He only scored 30 that night. But I'd hear all these stories about his athletic success and all the things he accomplished in high school, and I'm thinking, he's full of baloney. But then one day, I get to spend a few days up at the house on Laurel Avenue in Windsor, where Max grew up, and there's stuff everywhere. I mean, everywhere. There's plaques, and there's ribbons, and there's trophies, and there's medals. There's stuff on the bookshelves, there's stuff on the walls, there's stuff on the entertainment center. At first, I just thought he went out and bought them all at yard sales, but then, no, that costs money. That's not going to happen. So I started to look more closely, and I wanted to read some of the things that they said. And man, it was impressive. It really was. I kept reading the same words over and over. Phil, Dave, Roger, Steve, Tim. Phil, Dave, Roger, Steve. Anyway, I did not take my speaking duties here tonight lightly. I did a lot of research and a lot of fact-checking into the entire history of Windsor High School athletics. I looked at all kinds of unusual and sometimes weird statistics. Basically, what I was doing is what today's sports franchises call sabermetrics. And after all that research, I learned a lot. I drew some very strong conclusions, and it's true. Max, you're like the sixth best athlete in your family. Oh, I'm sorry, seventh. Sorry, Bev. I forgot. Anyway, as I said, Max was a great athlete in college as well, although different than high school. He was a two-letter man, D's and F's. No, that's a joke. Actually, he was an honor student. There were many times after rough nights of partying that I'd have to stand behind him and hear him say, "Yes, Your Honor," "No, Your Honor." Anyway, I've had some fun at his expense, but let me tell you why I admire this man and why he's a great representative of Windsor High School. There's no doubt that the Ken Johnson I know is a character, that is for sure, but more importantly, he's a man of character. He's a man of integrity. He's a man of discipline. He's a man of faith. He sets goals for himself, and he achieves them. And this has been in all aspects of his life: athletics, academics, business, and most importantly, family. This is a man who loves his family and is dedicated to his family. And I mean both his families, the great family that he and Wallace have so lovingly raised and cared for in so many, many ways, and the family that raised him, his siblings, who have had such an influence on him, and I'm sure you'll hear more about that later. And of course, Ken's beloved mother and a great lady, Doris Johnson, who I know is smiling down on Kenneth tonight with nothing but pride and love. I have many, many stories about Ken, and I could go on forever, and many of you think I already have. But let me tell you my favorite Ken Johnson story. It's very appropriate for his honor here this evening. In those days in college, when we went, there were no computers, nothing was digital, so we didn't pick our courses until we arrived on campus during orientation. And at Susquehanna in those days, in addition to having a faculty advisor, everyone was assigned a student advisor. This was an older student who's supposed to mentor you, help you pick courses, etc. So after Ken had his first meeting with his student advisor, I could tell something had happened. He was fired up. He had that look that he gets. So I asked him how the meeting went. And after some choice curse words, Ken told me that when he started asking about courses for sophomore year, the student advisor laughed in his face and said, "Sophomore year? With the grades you had in high school, you're not going to make it to your sophomore year." So he never mentioned that incident to me again, but I know what he did. He wasn't going to let words stop him. Many of us, especially myself, would have felt sorry for ourselves. We would have let that set us back. He did not. As a matter of fact, he did just the opposite. He used it as motivation. He used it as a tool to push himself to succeed. He game planned, and he executed his game plan. He studied, he sacrificed, he met with his professors, and this was not for a couple of days or a couple of weeks or even months. No, this was for all 4 years. And then he graduated with honors. That attitude and determination was, of course, partially internal, but it was also influenced and cultivated by his family. And then it was practiced and perfected in the hallways and on the playing fields of Windsor High School and Susquehanna University. So Max, Ken, well, it's an honor and very fitting that so many people here will remember you for your athletic achievements. I will always admire you for your greatness off the fields and away from the competition and the games. I'll remember you for your great accomplishments in life and in friendship. You've been in my personal Hall of Fame for a long time. Congratulations on the honor of being a member of the Windsor High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
Wow. Wow. That was pretty good, Bunzo. But I tell you what, halfway through that speech, I'm going, why the heck did I have him have me do this introduction tonight? But unbelievable. I want to do some thank yous. So I want to thank the committee. It's a wonderful honor to have received this award. I want to thank the people who are here tonight supporting me. There's a whole bunch of Johnsons and family and friends and nephews and nieces and all kinds of things. Also want to specifically recognize my Susquehanna boys. They came from long distances to support me as well as support this event. So thank you very much. And by the way, awesome that you gave Susquehanna a plug. Good stuff, good stuff. Probably no one heard about that school until you, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to spend the rest of the next couple minutes talking about my family. Because if there's any historians here, you'll recognize some of these people in the accomplishments my brothers did. As Bunzo said, I'm the youngest of 6. I do have a sister, love you sis, but I'm not talking about you. I'm the youngest of 6, all played multiple sports in high school, Windsor High School, from 63 through 76. I was the youngest, all right? I'll give you a little quick story about growing up at Johnson. So, we're playing tackle football in the backyard. I'm 5, 6 years old, right? I get the handoff, and I'm running around the end, and I see there's a touchdown. So I'm running. I get smacked. I go flying. We had a outside faucet. Pipes exposed. Boom! Head first, right into it. Blood. But I'm crying, screaming. Do you think these guys were saying, how you doing? No. The only concern was, don't cry because mom's going to stop the game. Okay? And just shut up and keep playing. 2 lessons learned. The game must always go on, and you got to be tough to play sports. Okay? So, I gotta do a shout out to my mom. She was my biggest fan. Okay, she raised us. My dad died very young. She had just the brutal responsibility of raising 7 of us, and she's just incredible person. Love you, Mom. She's looking down. If she was here, I'm telling you, she would be beaming. And many people, especially a lot of these people at the tables, they all loved her. And so I had to get that out. So, brother Phil, he's the one who knocked me in the side, knocked my teeth out. Okay? We as a Johnson's family, we all played sports, but our claim to fame was football. Okay? That's what we all excelled at, so that's what I want to focus on. Phil, raise your hand, Phil. He's like 80 years old or something, you know? But he graduated in 1965. And he was a halfback. He was on the team that started. Windsor High School football started in 1963. And he was the starting halfback. He was the captain, all that good stuff. So, little story. So, the very first kickoff, right? He gets the ball, kickoff. Next thing you know, man, he's runs 100 yards for a touchdown. Honest to God truth. The very first kickoff, Windsor High School football, he runs and goes 100 yards. He ends up getting a full ride to University of Bridgeport. If anybody remembers, they played pretty good football back in the day. He got a full ride. Next in line is my brother Dave. Give a little hand up there. Where is he? Yeah, baby. Dave was the smart one. He was Vala whatever. Yeah. Say I didn't do well in the classroom. So Dave was a technician. He was an offensive lineman, made second team All-State. Okay, played in the Nutmeg Bowl. I don't know if anybody remembers the college football game they used to have in the state of Connecticut, Nutmeg Bowl. He played in it. He goes to Amherst College. He was a captain in his senior year. He played with 3 future Hall of Famers. Hall of NFL players. Which is, think of that, Amherst College had 3 NFL players. One of them, this is a great trivia question, was a starting linebacker on the undefeated Miami Dolphins. In 1972, the only undefeated team in the Super Bowl era. Doug Swift. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. The next in line is my brother Steve. He was the most disciplined. He played 4 years at halfback. Next in line was my brother Raj. Give a little wave there. When I went to one of his practices when I was a little kid, and Coach Roach, who preceded Coach Lazinski, Coach Roach, right? Awesome, man. That's wonderful. There's so many people. He was a really great man. So he comes up to me and goes, "Your brother's a natural, man. He is a football player," and that he was. He ended up playing, starting 3 years and all that good stuff. He was All-State, played in Nutmeg Bowl, all that fun stuff. He goes to Central, starting linebacker for 3 years. This stuff's pretty impressive. All from Little Windsor High School. Can you believe it? And one family. Had another brother, Tim, who was an athletic protege as a kid. He was phenomenal. He unfortunately got hurt. He had his knee, and he didn't look. That hindered him. But he ended up playing, starting both ways, high school, junior and senior year. And then there's me. So how did all this success help me? Let me tell you a quick little story. So I'm at football camp my sophomore year, and it was a big deal to start as a sophomore. So Bill Lazinski, Coach Lazinski, about the third practice, says, "Kenny, yeah, did you ever play defensive back? No. You want to play defensive back? No. Great, you're starting on Saturday varsity." Oh, cool, man. So how do I reward him? First game against Torrington, right? So it was the end of the first half. Coach Chasen, where is he? Coach Chasen says, Kenny, watch for the long pass. And I don't know if you don't remember this. And I go, I got this, man. So he comes down, the wide receiver, and I got him. And he does it down and out, and I was going to cut in front of him, and I was going to intercept the ball, and I'm going for a touchdown, man. I'm going to be the hero. Only one problem. The receiver does it down, out, and up. Ball goes over my head. The guy scores a touchdown. Coach Lazinski fires his little thing he used to carry around 50 yards. Didn't start well for me. But ended up recovering real well and actually played pretty well as a sophomore. But it was a wonderful experience in playing Windsor High School athletics. I love and cherish every one of those memories. But I'm going to end with talking about relationships. You had mentioned, it's just not about the things you did on a sports field. It's what you learned from that. And I played 3 sports with a gentleman named Willie Murray. And we were really good friends, but you know how it is. You lose track and all that stuff. He calls me about after having talked to him for 30 years and had the most wonderful conversation ever. Thank you, John, by the way, for setting that up. And it was a big assist. By the way, it's the only assist I ever got from you playing basketball for all those years, but then it's a different story. But anyway, this story, and we talked about our careers, politics, everything. What a beautiful relationship. I get off the phone with him, and I go, man, am I grateful for the relationships that I had with my Windsor High School buddies, and for that matter, my Susquehanna buddies. How thankful I was for my career playing athletics. But the most important thing, and the thing I was most proud of, is growing up a Johnson in Windsor. Thank you very much.
Tremendous speech, Ken. Beautifully done. Sounds like the Johnson family has quite a legacy here. And Bob, by the way, will be at Mohegan Sun this weekend. My goodness. I want to hear the other 16 minutes. I'm sure that's for the bar later. Our next inductee, part of the class of '79, to be introduced by track coach Joanne Chasen, The athlete is Lauren Provost Life, and Joanne's going to come up and present Lauren.
Good evening. When I listened to Kevin Nathan speak at the beginning, he did a beautiful speech, I thought, and a lot right off the top. I had to sit down and kind of write and type it up, but I think what I wrote is very similar to what he said with regards to athletics and what you see in an individual and what, finally comes out as the most important thing that coaches see and as well, and that the students see themselves. So anyway, good luck. Here's what I wrote. I said, obviously, it's my great pleasure to speak this evening at the ceremony for the induction of the Windsor High School Hall of Fame. And I feel like I'm the fortunate one tonight to be able to speak about Lauren Provost Life. Like so many of the other inductees in this group, past and present, Lauren's star began to shine brightly during her high school career, and you could see it during her 4 years at Windsor High School. She really was every high school's, every teacher's, and every coach's dream student, dream athlete. She was involved in many, many student activities. She was, I believe she was president of her class as a junior and a senior. She was a three-sport athlete, where she was a co-captain of the field hockey team that went to the state finals. She also played varsity girls basketball, and she ran track for the girls track and field team. Lauren is remembered by all of her coaches as someone who displayed strong leadership skills right from the very beginning. She was a supportive teammate, a hard worker, and an individual who constantly worked to excel and improve in all areas. When I was asked to speak and to introduce Lauren, first of all, boy, when you get to my age, you start to think, oh my God, let me see what I can remember. But what came back immediately to me about Lauren was I just remember being struck at that time by her contagious spirit, her positive attitude, her enthusiasm, her almost continual smile that she had, and just her joy of life. And those are the things that, when I think about Lauren Provost's life, those are the things that come back to me immediately. Congratulations, Lauren, on this achievement. It is definitely well-deserved.
Thank you, Mrs. Jason. I really feel so honored to be here in the company of all of you. Thank you to the Hall of Fame Committee for your hard work and the efforts to pull off such a wonderful evening. And congratulations to Ken, Coach Vola, Mr. Grant, Lisa, who, by the way, has way better form in her basketball picture than I do, Mike, and the 91 girls soccer team. This honor has given me an opportunity to reflect on those glory days of high school. I really was so lucky to be coached by incredibly talented and passionate people. Sarge, Barry Chasen, and Joanne Chasen. They helped me to be a great teammate and a competitor. And when I later coached in life, I had them as role models for the kind of coach I wanted to be. I've been to many graduations and events like this over the years, as I'm sure you all have. And I've listened to many addresses, some way too long and really not all that inspiring. And whenever I'm in a room with Connecticut people, I realize we're divided. We're either Red Sox fans or Yankee fans. Patriot fans or Giants fans. Now, whatever your thoughts are on Coach Bill Belichick, I do want to share something of his wisdom with you. When it was announced that our daughter's graduation speaker from high school was Coach Belichick, my husband said, "Oh, this is awesome. He's a man of very few words, and he'll probably just get up there and say, 'Good job.'" Really, he was much more than that. He had a lot to say, and he was rather eloquent and rather brief. Here's my thoughts on his team philosophy. Everything about team sports comes together when each team member simply does his or her job. Magic can happen when everyone is putting in 100% effort. Who doesn't respect someone who gives it all? And usually it's more fun when everyone is working as hard as the next one. I have found really that these three things in life, total effort, respect for one another, and fun, is the key to really all relationships. Anyways, that's it. Tonight I'm surrounded by my family. My mom has usually left by now for Florida, so I was really concerned when it got really cold today. So I do appreciate that you stuck around. My brother Lou came all the way from Nashville to be here, and actually he lives in the same town as you, Lisa, so we need to get you together. I read your bio. My sisters Patty and Susan and their husbands came, along with my Aunt Karen and my cousin Dawn. Larry, my greatest teammate in life, is here, of course. But our daughters unfortunately couldn't be. They both live in California. Leah is probably relaxing after an exam today, and Lindsay is on her way to Napa Valley for a friend's wedding. So they had good excuses. Also missing from our table is my dad. My dad was by far my greatest cheerleader. He would have gotten such a kick out of this, and I know he's looking down from heaven with that great big smile of his. That table over there, those are my dearest friends. We've stayed connected all these 38 years after high school. After all, we weren't just high school friends, we were teammates. With Beth, Kathy, and Sheila, we had that wonderful season of field hockey that ended in a state championship. And really, until my marriage day, that was the best day of my life. Doreen, Beth, Dawn, Sheila, and I were basketball teammates. Candy, Beth, Kathy, and I all were members of the track team. And together, Carrie, Beth, Doreen, Candy, and I have planned all of our class reunions. To have a loving family and friends at your side, I'm really one lucky woman. Thank you so much for this honor. Thanks.
One more round of applause for Lauren Provost Life. I love how old teammates are back, fraternity brothers, family. That's what I was saying at the top, and I probably left that part out. It is all the ancillary things you learn, but at the end of the day, the most important part of sports are the relationships and the friendships. You get together with friends, and nobody talks about who scored the touchdown or made the goal in field hockey. Maybe you do when you won a state championship, but it's about the friendship and all the silly things that happen along the way. Our next inductee, our fourth inductee of the night, tremendous athlete from the class of '82, is Lisa Dixon, and she will be introduced by her basketball coach and current Hall of Famer himself, Barry Chasen. Somebody get him on the clock, please.
this is the respect you get after giving the place 36 years, you know what I mean? Oh, my God. Let me say, it's really an honor for me to be asked by Lisa to speak on her behalf. I'd like to congratulate all of the present inductees, very, very well deserved. I wrote a few things down that I'm going to say about Lisa, but before I get to that, I got to share this with you. Beth McNamara and her husband came in for Lauren, and this morning the two of them and Candy Fusco asked Joanne and I to go out to breakfast. Joanne can't retire, even though she taught for 40 years. She's working part-time at Kohl's and volunteering at St. Francis. So we went to breakfast, and we had a real nice time. And after when we were leaving, I said to Beth, and I don't know if Candy heard me, I said, Joanne's a little nervous about having to get up and speak tonight because that's not a big thing to her. And I said, and Beth looked at me, and this is only Beth, and she said, are you a little nervous that you've only got 3 minutes to speak? So that's how the day began. But in all honesty, I know we talked about this Veterans Day. I want to say Happy Veterans Day to all of you who were in the service at some point in your lives. And yes, very much. Having grown up with a father who was in the 82nd Airborne and jumped in D-Day, I full well know and respect what you have. And having gone to New York Military Academy, I understand that life. Although, unlike my teammate Donald Trump, I didn't think that I learned that much there as in the military that you learn, as he tried to say. But in any event, thank you to all of you for allowing people like us to have a night like this in a land that has freedoms for everybody. So thank you very much. Thank you. I also want to thank, I thought it was my friend Kevin Nathan, and then tonight he comes and bust my stones, but that's okay. I love him. He's great. I mean, Kevin and I have worked on bringing, reviving baseball in the inner city back to Hartford, and hopefully those kids appreciate what the committee we have has done for them, because Hartford, in a way, a little bit is the envy baseball-wise, because as a result of our committee, those kids have 3 brand-new all-turf, multi-million-dollar fields in the city of Hartford before they went into a little financial difficulty, thankfully. Kenny Johnson mentioned, he went to Susquehanna, et cetera. But what he didn't mention, and I think he knows this, but maybe not, our athletic director, Steve Risser, probably was at Susquehanna at the same time as Kenny Johnson. So those two guys have probably some stories to exchange. Steve in soccer, and Kenny and his friend, from football. I want to also thank Win TV. You people, you can go back and tell this to Jen. Win TV has been a tremendous supporter of this Hall of Fame right from the first year. And Jen Horan and the people that work with her have done a great job publicizing this, have done a great job in promoting it, and they've videotaped. So I'm sure that those of you inducted tonight, if you want to videotape, if you contact the young man that's back there, he'll probably tell you how to go about getting a hold of a copy of this particular evening. I also want to thank, having been on this committee since its inception, I want to thank Tom O'Shea and Sheila Martin for taking over this year as co-chairman, did a tremendous job. And I want to thank the other people on this committee, Celeste Over, Ellen Sharino Dogowitz, John Falana, and Steve Risser, for all that you guys have done to help make this a success. And while we were pointing out people and their accomplishments, for those of you, even though Celeste went to Bloomfield High, I think that, well, it's a good rivalry, and Celeste was a dominant runner. She was an All-American in high school. She was an All-American at Villanova, and Celeste was an alternate on the 1996 United States Olympic team. So, Celeste, you want to stand up, be recognized? Too bad for atta girl. Okay. Celeste does a great job as our treasurer, coaching whatever, track, cross country, etc. She just really a great addition to Windsor. Okay, now Lisa Dixon. Okay, Lisa. The first time I met Lisa, we were playing basketball in the summer. That's back when the CIAC didn't tell you could only coach half of your players. So we were playing in a girls' summer league up in Ellington. And I think in 3 years we might have lost one game, but nonetheless, that's not the important thing. I used to kind of like be one of the chauffeurs of people to the games. And on the way home one night, I had 2 or 3 girls drop off. And Lisa didn't live that far from Joanne and I. And so I was just talking with Lisa, and Lisa may remember this and she may not, but to me, it kind of is like the focal point of what I'm going to say. And Lisa said she was now going into the 10th grade, her and Ellen Sherino were going in 10th grade. And I asked them if they'd play in the summer with us, etc. And Lisa said, Mr. Chasen, I don't feel real comfortable. I don't feel like I fit in here with these girls, with the older girls and so forth. And I said to her, Lisa, there's no such thing as I don't, there's no such thing as I can't, and there's no such thing as I won't. And I'm going to tell you right now, Lisa, you will. And by the time Lisa was a senior, having played rest of her soul with Judy Uhrman and having to learn to be a little bit tough as a rebounder, because I've said this and I'll always say this, I've seen girls basketball ever since I started refereeing with Coach Stevenson, when Sheila Martin was in the junior high, and we used to do those Sage Park LP games, talk about battle of the Windsors. Judy Uhrman, to me, is the best female rebounder I ever saw in high school basketball in Connecticut. And Lisa had to go up against her. Beth McNamara had to go up against her. I remember Beth saying, well, Judy's really tough. I went, yeah, Beth, and you know what? You will be too. And Lisa, by her senior year, was all conference in all 3 sports she played. And Lisa was all state in softball. And along with Ellen Sherino, because they both got out of Sage Park at the same time, I believe you girls, where's Lisa? Lisa, where are you? Were you guys undefeated in the 9th grade, I think, in basketball? Yes. Right, Ellen? Okay, they were undefeated in the 9th grade. They both, we had like 6 girls, I think, on a JV team, maybe 7 when they came to the 10th grade. And they were 18-0 with that team. And so when you take a look at freshman, sophomore, playing JV varsity, junior year, senior year, those 2 girls combined or together had a combined record in basketball of 82-12 or thereabouts. So they had a very successful career, and they both were 3-sport athletes. But the thing is that to me, Lisa needed self-confidence. When she made the statement I shared with you, I felt like this kid has talent. I'm not sure if she knows exactly how good she can be. And one of the things that I tried to do with her, as long as probably well with the other kids, is to get everything you had to give out of you. Because I don't know that young athletes always realize how good they can be and don't know what their bodies can produce until you push them to produce what they probably don't realize they are capable of giving. And having coached for 38 years, I guess I've seen a few of those types. I feel fortunate that of the 4 people getting inducted here, I'm not a golfer and I didn't coach golf, so Mike Castorino, I'm sorry I didn't get to coach you, but Kenny, when I was an assistant football coach, and Lisa and Lauren, as I've said, for me personally, I was blessed for over 30 years in this town. I had great kids who worked hard, and for me, coaching Lisa, Lauren, and Kenny, it was just part of a whole group of kids that wanted to work, that wanted to win, and wanted to be successful. So in the course of time, Lisa wrote to me and asked me if I would speak on her behalf, which I was more than happy to do. She said, November 10th, are you available and are you able? Asking that last part, Lisa, is a tough question. It's not that goes without saying. I'd be more than available for you, and I'd be able, I think, God willing, right? So, in any event, we exchanged some emails, and, I talked about Lisa and to her and about working hard and so forth. And Lisa used to get down on herself, and she hopefully would be willing to admit this, when she'd make a mistake. And I said, Lisa, just keep playing, okay? Mistakes are going to happen, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if I just said it in those words, maybe a little more vociferously, but whatever. And I always really attempted to get 3 things out of these kids, okay, that I tried to teach them. And I tried to teach them that you don't want to have any regrets. You want to make wise decisions, and you never want to have to live in the land of, or the world of what if. And I felt like if they could accomplish that, have no regrets, make wise decisions, and not have to ask, well, what if? Like, should you have gone out for this team? And I was talking about somebody tonight who was a junior in baseball, and I was talking to one of the guys out there, and the kid gave it up, and I'm sure if I asked him today, he would openly admit that he regrets that he didn't play his senior year, but it's too late, to change that. So hopefully he can teach his own kids that. But in any event, I used to say to them, hey, look, at the end of every practice and every game, you need to be able to look in the mirror and say that your gas tank is on empty, and you need to fill it up for the next day. And I think that eventually that sinks home with a number of people, and I know it sunk home with Lisa because Lisa and Ellen led our team in 1982, their senior year, to an 18-3 record, and they were they were both like senior leaders, and they really set a good example for the younger kids, which I was grateful for. But the last thing I want to mention, and I know you're all saying, good, get the hell off of there, will you, please, is that when I wrote to Lisa, I printed this out so I could share it with you. Lisa wrote back to me, and I asked what she had indicated when I saw Lisa Potts. When I first got this email, I went, Lisa Potts? I don't know any Lisa Potts. And then all of a sudden I realized it was Lisa Dixon Potts. And so consequently, I asked her about, school and so forth and so on. And Lisa said that her husband is a smart guy, and that he had gone to Wichita State, and that he had gotten his MS at Yale in mechanical engineering, and he got his another MS at MIT in management. And Lisa indicated to me that she had an MS and an MBA from the University of New Haven, and she put degrees, yes, but not the same caliber of college. And I wrote back and I said, Lisa, and this just all came back to me, like there's Lisa not being confident in herself, okay? And hopefully, Lisa, when I wrote this back, it sat with you, because I said this. Lisa, it doesn't matter what school you got the degrees from, you got them, and that is what is most important. Not everyone can go to Yale or MIT. Certainly 2 schools that are superior. Not that that matters either. It's like playing basketball. Once they throw up the ball to start the game, rankings, who the other team is, and so forth, doesn't matter. It's what you do for yourself, just as it is what the team does for itself to win. And I knew that Lisa had definitely gotten self-confidence, and I kind of looked in the mirror and smiled, because this is how Lisa ended what she said. She said about her husband being smart, and then she finished and said, and he was smart to marry me. So with that, Lisa, here you go.
Much. I can't thank him. He just, he said it all. And because of that, and the way he just described me, I've always tried to push myself, and it really comes from that foundation of just being around somebody who's like that, who really helped me. He gave me a lot of confidence, and my teammates, I just had so much fun at Windsor High School with my teammates, and I haven't been back to Windsor in so many years, and it's just been such a pleasure to be here, and I really appreciate being nominated, and I thank everyone for that and the recognition. I live in Nashville now, but I miss Connecticut too. Connecticut's a special place in my heart always. My mom is so supportive. She came to all my games, and it's just nice to have that support, growing up and all those practices so many years. It's nice to have family support, because without our parents and just our friends and our teammates, we probably all wouldn't be here and have those kind of relationships we've had. So I really thank everyone. But thank you so much, Mr. Chasen. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Lisa. And I just want to say about Coach Chase, and I kid because I love you, had a great chat with Chris O'Brien here as we were getting dinner, old friend from Glastonbury, and talk about what a great high school coach you were, and close state championship Chris's junior year. You guys were ranked third in the country. Barry's in a million Hall of Fames. I can't keep track. And, you think of him for baseball, umpiring, coaching, but basketball, assistant football too. Amazing, amazing career. And it's also fun hearing about, 2 and 3 sport athletes. I mean, now in high school they have specialization and all this nonsense. And it was great back in the day when you just rolled the ball out and went from one sport to the next. Bring back the 70s for many reasons. Our next inductee is one of those multiple sport athletes. Had a nice time chatting with Michael because he went on to Providence College where he wrote for the school paper when Billy Donovan and Rick Pitino were leading PC to that unlikely Final Four with 2 other Big East teams in 1987. But he had a heck of an athletic career here at Windsor High, part of the class of 85. And here to introduce Michael Castorino is his brother Steve.
Okay, my speech is about a minute and a half tops. So I expect the rest of my drinks tonight to be paid for. Okay. So I played with or against some very talented athletes in my day, and without question, the best 2 athletes I've ever known lived in the same house as me, my brother and my dad. And I remember being younger, and Mike was always in the newspapers or on the news, and I was his little brother, and I always thought it was such magic. It was so much fun to watch. And not only was Mike an amazing golfer, but he also had a fantastic basketball career at Windsor High as well. And Mike's senior year of golf, he had 20 wins and 1 loss. 20 wins and 1 loss. That is just ridiculous to me. And not only that, he had the best record in the entire state of Connecticut. From a small town, Windsor, playing golf powers, and out of Millbrook Golf Course. The best player in the entire state. He went on to play at Providence College, and there were 8 players chosen from New England to play the Irish team, and Mike was chosen his freshman and sophomore year. And to the best of my knowledge, I may be embellishing a little bit, but you won every match. And it's one of my favorite stories to tell, and I can't believe I'm able to tell it in front of 100 people here. I've been telling it for years. So, Mike, you're an assassin on the course. You're a classy, humble champion off the course. I can tell you right now that I'm the least surprised person here that you are in this situation, because I've been seeing you do this stuff since we've been running together for 45 years. Mike, you are in the Windsor High Athletic Hall of Fame. You're in the Windsor High Athletic Hall of Fame. That stays on your resume forever, brother. And Dad is looking down on you right now, smiling ear to ear. So damn proud of you, my brother. I love you, MC. Congratulations.
Thank you, Steve. I can't believe that's actually me you described. It's pretty amazing. That tribute, you've been an amazing inspiration to me my entire life, and you've been an incredible athlete and representative of Windsor High as well. I want to thank the committee for building this Hall of Fame. What an essential way to capture this remarkable athletic heritage our town holds. And I also want to thank the people that have showed up here tonight to support me. My fiance, Ingrid, my loving family, my loving friends, you count you as the greatest blessings in my life every single day. I especially want to give congratulations to the rest of the inductees, past and present. What a bond to share with you guys, so congratulations and well done. With the spirit of gratitude that I'm filled up with tonight, I wanted to thank some of the people that made this possible. All the local coaches who invested their time and energy and spirit into me. People like Matt Barrett, Rich Deneen, Gordon Ruddy, Fran Murphy, Bob Zawoski, Bill Winnar, and all the members of Millbrook, and so many more. That's what makes a town great, people that invest in the future. I want to thank my high school golf coach, George Monoi. He believed in me enough to pick me up at Sage Park Middle School to go play varsity golf. And he also forced me to play the best players in the state as a freshman to show me what it looked like. I'll never forget that lesson, and I'll thank Coach forever for that. I also want to thank my teammates in basketball and golf. With them, we've crafted our skills through grit and intensity, but always with respect. I think that's a quality most people from Windsor have. And you know what? I also need to thank my high school friends and my college friends. While a lot of other kids were goofing around, we were playing and competing, and really competing hard. It didn't matter if it was baseball or basketball or wiffle ball or golf, charts, ping pong, whatever it was. We competed hard, and it made every one of us greater. And you know, my deepest gratitude goes out to my beloved father, Mario Castorino, who passed away in 1994. He was an amazing all-everything athlete at Buckley High School in the 50s, and an even more incredible human being. I was so blessed to have this man, this coach, this educator, this motivator in the center of my universe for 26 years. My dad coached me from my first moments on this planet, and he coached me right up through his last. His legacy burns bright, and I can feel him in every step, and I hope you guys can feel him right here next to me tonight. So thank you all again. I feel amazed and blessed to be able to say that I'm from Windsor, that I am from Windsor. I wish everyone could be so lucky. Dad, this one's for you, and God bless.
You wonder why I love coming to these things, not knowing most of the people in the room, and you hear speeches like that, and it brings a tear to your eye, and you realize how special a night like this is. Congratulations, Mike. Let's hear another round of applause. Our next inductee is a coach, Charles Vola, and here to introduce Coach Vola is the assistant girls soccer coach, Randy Lee.
I'm not getting any younger. I hope some of you have not read this tonight so that my remarks will not be made again. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Jack O'Brien. Whoops, wrong script. Only a few would know what that meant, but good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of the Hall of Fame committee. A few years ago, I stood before you, some of you, and had to limit my time for my speech because I knew Barry Chasen needed more time. Well, tonight, he's not following me, but I'll still keep my comments short. Charlie has three loves: his wife, Lodia, his son, Christopher, and of course, sports. Charlie is a true Windsor athlete, coach. He was the first elementary PE teacher hired in town. He taught at all 7 elementary schools. Most coaches only coach 1 or 2 sports, not Charlie. He coached ice hockey, which he got me into, tennis, and of course, girls soccer. In 1999, he became the director of athletics for physical education, departments K through 12. No one was more suited than Charlie. During Charlie's career, he was nominated 5 different times for outstanding coaching awards in 2 different sports: girls soccer in '97, boys tennis in '99. The highlight of his career has to be coaching the girls' soccer team to a state championship in 1991, beating Glastonbury 3 times in one season. It's great seeing some of those teams, or members of the team, here tonight. I don't think there was an athletic team that Charlie couldn't coach. He has a great love of sports. I remember there were a few occasions we would have 2-a-day practices in the beginning of the year. The girls would go home for lunch. Charlie would go to his car, take out a golf club, right on the field, and start chipping. He loves his golf. And I don't know if the kids really remembered that. And then he got me going into it. Not speaking of, but in his SUV, this tells you about Charlie. In his SUV, if you open up the back and you are interested in a sport, I bet you that he had the equipment in that truck. And I don't think he ever unloaded it. Tennis balls, tennis rackets, baseballs, baseball gloves, bases, bats. He had it all. Oh, soccer balls, of course. He had it all. What makes a good coach? As a legendary coach, John Wooden once said, an ability to aspire, inspire, understand, relate, teach, love, and discipline. Charlie was all that and more. Ladies and gentlemen, it's with great pleasure and an honor to introduce Charles Vola, Coach Charlie.
Anita, where are you? I could have used you to type these up, you know. When I was the athletic director, she was my secretary, and she would type the large print so you could see everything. You didn't need glasses. It was good. How many people here is it past your bedtime? Be honest. All right, good. All right. I won't be long. I'd like to congratulate all my fellow inductees to the Windsor High School Hall of Fame. It's a once-in-a-lifetime happening. It's an honor. Well, I'll tell you, you look at the resume, it's a lot of years of coaching. Many, many games, many matches, incredible number of gifted athletes. I will always remember them. Fall was soccer, winter was ice hockey, and spring was tennis. I like the opportunity of coaching boys and girls, so different, yet so similar in goals and ambitions. You know, the finesse of soccer, the controlled physicality of ice hockey, and the individualism of tennis. Each season was so different, yet you were always trying to teach, to instill values, to make sport exciting and enjoyable. I truly believe I was born to be a coach, and I am thankful for all the years I got to enjoy it. I'm not going to get into wins, losses, stats, awards. Instead, I'm going to tell you 3 little stories that kind of affect me as a coach. I'm going to call them the good, the bad, and the ugly. First, the bad. A few years ago, my wife said to me, "You need to get your hearing checked." I said, "What?" I said, no way. You know, there's nothing wrong. Well, this went on, and finally went in and got checked. And sure enough, I had a hearing loss. And the audiologist said, "This is incredible. I've never seen anything like this." She called this other lady over, and they looked at the results, and they said, "John, what did you do for a living?" And I said, "Well, I was a coach and taught phys ed." And, well, we talked, and finally we realized it was a little thing called an Acme Thunderer. Now, how many coaches know what that is? All right. That's the loudest whistle you can ever buy. But when you're coaching soccer or ice hockey and you got to let this whistle go out to the other people, you blow it. I remember telling girls in the soccer team, "All right, I'm going to blow the whistle, hold your ears." And I would do it. Well, that's what caused a hearing loss, was that thing, because both ears are identically bad. I mean, there's no difference. And they say, you never see that. You don't see that in here. You know, always one or, well, anyways, that's corrected. And I said, thank God for tennis, because I never had to blow a whistle in tennis. So that was good. And then I kind of hoped that maybe one of the girls would come back with a lawyer as a husband, and maybe we could see if Acme Thunder is still in business. There might be something there. All right, second is the ugly. School hadn't started yet, but preseason soccer had. It's 90 degrees. We're doing triple sessions. You girls remember that? We're doing triple sessions. I mean, it's hot. And, you know, and I'm trying to figure out something that's going to make this a lot easier and a lot more fun and won't be as hard. So I said, well, I think I'll give the girls a break, and at the end of the afternoon session, we'll jog up to the indoor pool at the high school. We'll just jump in, cool off, and be ready for the night session. Great idea, all right? So sure enough, I check with the swim coach, pool's available. So practice ends in the afternoon. We head up, we jog up, we go in through the locker rooms, we're in the pool. Kids are wading around, other kids are, you know, splashing each other. Great time. I mean, this is really good. All of a sudden, there's a tap on my shoulder. I turn around, and here's this large policeman looking at me. And he says, what are you doing? So I start explaining. Well, by the time I got through explaining, there were 3 police cruisers, 2 fire trucks, and the neighbors are starting to wander over to see what's going on, okay? Well, it gets uglier. And Tom Martin can believe this one. I go in the next morning, and in my mailbox is a note from Larry Shea. It says, please see me ASAP. Right? So I walk into Larry Shea's office, the principal at Windsor High School, who was a guy you didn't want to get called into Larry Shea's office, especially if you were a student, but a teacher, oh, forget it. So anyways, that was the last time we ever got into that pool again. And I'm still thankful that I didn't have to pay for the fire trucks. That was definitely a bonus. All right, we're on to the good. This happened recently. I'm in a local grocery store in Windsor. I'm standing there, I look up, and one of the other lines is a really tall, really large guy. And he's looking at me. And he's looking at me, and he's looking at me, and, all of a sudden he starts coming out of that line. And he's walking towards me, and he's going. He gets about 5 feet from me, and he says, Vola! I go, I got nothing, And let me tell you something about appearances. Coaches change, but they don't change that much. But students change a lot. I mean, you got nothing, all right? So he says, we talk a little bit. Come to find out, he was a 6th grade student. And the minute he told me his name, I said, oh my God, this kid was the best athlete in the 6th grade. Phenomenal. Jump higher, run faster. He was just great. He said to me, he said, Coach, he said, you told me in the 6th grade that I was a good athlete. And I remember this. And you told me when I went to the high school, I want you to play multiple sports. And he said, I did. He said, I went there, I played multiple sports, I really enjoyed it, and I want to thank you for that. It was great. And I said, oh, that's good, and well, all right. So now I'm paying my bills and I'm getting ready to go. And I go to turn around and shake his hand, and he goes, no. He said, no, not good enough. Well, he envelops me with this bear hug. And he says, you were one of the good guys. I floated out. But as I look around this room and I see my fellow coaches out there are a lot of good guys out there. Thank you for this award.
Let's hear it for Coach Vola. A personal note about what Coach was saying. I'm telling you, while you're alive and your coaches are alive, if you have a strong feeling about a coach or a mentor, tell them thanks. when my college football coach passed away this winter, I mean, it hit all of us. We had 50 guys back at Dickinson for the memorial service. And we realized, what an impact he made on our lives. This guy who was so tough and never complimented you for 4 years. And then, the last 10 years when I'd end a phone call with Coach Sweeney, he'd say, "I love you." The first time he did it, I was silent. Really? You love me? But it's important to tell coaches and mentors and parents that make a difference those things, because you think of the sacrifices. I mean, coaching 3 sports like Coach Vola did, I mean, that's unbelievable. And the sacrifice that they have to make for their families, and then to have a person at the grocery store, come up who just one thing in 6th grade, and how that impacted that person's life. So I just very adamant about that while people are alive that made an impact and really sacrificed a lot to be coaches, it's important to thank them. And we're not going to let Coach Vola sit down very long, because he is going to introduce an incredible team. As a sportscaster for 27 years and now in the news business, I love a good story. And, when you read this story of the 1991 Class L state soccer champions, I still lament the fact that Susquehanna, that game had to end in a tie. I would rather have just lost the game, but there was no overtime. In 91, this team, the semifinal game against Manchester, double overtime, 5-player shootout, and Windsor wins the thing on a final kick scoring. And, it's kind of like the miracle on ice. You win the semifinal game. Oh, by the way, now you got to go win the other thing. The Russian hockey game was the semifinals, if you recall. They had to beat Finland 2 days later. Well, this Windsor team came back and they beat mighty Glastonbury and won the state championship. So here to introduce the 1991 Class L state champs, and for their induction, let's welcome back Coach Charlie Vola.
I left these here because I knew I'd be coming back. All right, I've been given the honor of introducing the 91-92 Class L champion girls soccer team. Going back 26 years, 26 years, ladies. And trying to recall facts is a daunting task. You ask my wife, and she'll tell you I can't remember anything last month. But there are a few things that stand out that are well worth sharing. This was a well-skilled and very athletic group. They were mentally and physically strong. We ran many, many miles. I remember the groans when I would tell them, all right, bring your sneaks as well as your cleats to practice, because that meant we were hitting the roads. Every Wednesday was weight room day. Many stations, many reps, and believe me, girls do sweat. As the season progressed, we were playing the best soccer at the right time. We cruised through the first rounds of the tourney and drew Manchester in the semis. The game was evenly played and ended 1-1. The overtimes, sudden death, still 1-1. A shootout, not penalty kicks, would decide the winner. Now, a shootout was something the CIAC put in, I believe, that year, and it only lasted maybe another year, and they got rid of it again. Well, the shootout was simply the goalie stood on the goal line, the shooter stood about 10 yards outside the penalty box, and on the whistle, both were free to go anywhere they wanted. So the shooter attacked, the goalie could move, but, and here's the but, you had 12 seconds to shoot the ball. So you couldn't just dribble into the goal and get it done. So being the Hall of Fame coach that I am, I talked to Rosie Harris, my goalie, who was just an incredible athlete, fast, just really, really a good athlete. And I said, Rosie, listen, you use your speed, you get out there and pressure that shooter. They're going to panic. We'll take them. All right. Well, the first girl that gets up from Manchester is, I think her name was Patty Hornbuckle or something. She was All-American, high school All-American. So whistle blows, Rosie comes flying out of the box. This girl goes one step to the side, hooks the ball around her into the center of the goal. Go, oh, geez, this isn't good. Rosie looks at me. Yeah, well, we didn't do that anymore. That plan went out the window. Rosie ends up stopping the next 4 shots. One with a kick save that Greg Wentworth and Jeff Harner, my hockey guys over there, would appreciate. It was a fabulous move. We end up kicking one in. It's getting dark now. I mean, it's dark, it's cold, and it doesn't look like anybody's going to win this game. Tracy Sheldon, who probably weighed 95 pounds, gets up and takes one touch of the ball to the right, hits a laser beam into the upper right-hand corner. Game over. Windsor wins, on to the semifinals to Glastonbury. But there was a little note about that. The referee came over to me just before Tracy's kick, and he says, "Coach, you need 5 more players to take the next 5 kicks." Said it pretty loud. Well, my players are behind me, right? So I go, "Oh, geez, okay." So I turn around. I didn't see a set of eyes. Girls, I mean, nobody wanted to take a kick, all right? So thank God Tracy scored. I don't know if I'd have found 5 players. I think they would have been on the bus. All right, so we're on to Glastonbury. And one thing about that was we had already played them twice during the regular season and beaten them. And any coach here will tell you, you don't want to play somebody the third time. Not only that, we lost our sweeper, Amy Swartzel, who was just a rock on defense. She broke a wrist. So we have to move people around, and it's just not the same. But that's where the mental toughness of this team really came through. It was a great game, back and forth. We get a direct free kick on about the 30-yard line. Kara Hills gets up there, and she hits this bomb. And fortunately, the Glastonbury goalie, I think, was about 5'2", Skeet. I mean, Skeeter's daughter played on the other team. She was short. Well, this thing just comes in at a wicked angle, if you can picture it, and she can't reach it. And it's in the goal. We're 1-0. Rosie makes a couple of great saves near the end, and we walk out of there state champs. So it was pretty exciting. But there's a little more to that than even the girls don't know. In the preseason, we took a road trip to play Stevens High School, a large division school in Claremont, New Hampshire. My niece was the captain of the team, and she helped set this whole thing up. So we go up there. We played really well. We scored early, and I think we won 3 or 4 to 1. Good game. Great road trip, great team building. But here's the kicker. Stevens goes on to win the state championship in New Hampshire, large schools. So I'm kind of thinking, girls, maybe we were a 2-state champion? All right. I'd like to introduce the girls and have them come up now. First, Ebony Carter. Jen Malone. Where do you want the girls? Come on up. Yeah, come on up. Keep me company. Okay. Jocelyn Knight. Kim Hosig. Rosie Harris. Rosie's got a 6-month-old. Right, Rose? Yep. Beautiful baby. Just saw our picture. Megan Cody. Kim Chula. Carly Pettibone. Some of them look like they're ready to play, don't they? I mean, Sonia Jones. Amy Swartzel. Shannon Kramer. Chris Castellani. I'll tell you, I think that's a great turnout. These ladies truly deserve this honor. All right, quiet down. You're going to run. All right. It's just been an honor to coach them, and they deserve all the credit in the world. Let's give them a round of a hand.
Tracy. Say it again, girls.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, part of it. Just no picture.
Rosie?
Thank you very much.
You're so
You're like 10 years old.
You're so
Yes.
One more big round of applause for the 91 state champs. And I'm not sure how many players Coach Vola carried, but that's one heck of a turnout, and it speaks to how special a time that was in their lives that so many of the players from that great team were back. Just want to thank everybody for allowing me to be here tonight. This is really a special evening. Everyone here should be very proud of their accomplishments on the field, but most importantly off the field. Just a great bunch of people in this room, and it's been fun hearing everyone's stories. Steve Risser is going to wrap things up, and thanks again. I look forward to the next Windsor story I get to tell.
If I could, I'd like to close with a personal thank you. First of all, for all of you being here tonight. This was an extraordinary night. Kevin Nathan, thank you. Not only for tonight, but for the coverage that you and your station, Channel 30, did at Windsor High School this morning to celebrate Veterans Day tomorrow. And I have to just take a moment. My dad was in the Korean War. He passed away earlier this week. It was very, very emotional for me this morning, and thank you very much for doing that at the station. Thank you. Congratulations to all the extraordinary class of 2017 inductees. Please take your these are your posters to take home. So please tonight take those with you. You should also know that every one of the inductees tonight, I want to thank Sheila Martin, every one of the inductees tonight got a lifetime pass to Windsor Athletics. Okay, so they get to come. If any of our inductees from the past do not have one of those, let us know and we'll make sure you get one of those. Thank you, Sheila, for that. And speaking of the committee thanks all of you. At your tables, do us a favor. After a short rest, the committee will be going back to work to pick the class of 2018. There are nomination sheets at your table. Please take a minute to take one and leave it with us if you have somebody who you think is up for consideration, or send it back to us. But we'd love your assistance in that regard. For those of you that don't know, every year during the basketball season, as the inductees know from this year, they're invited back to a night at a basketball game, and we start the process of heading back to November of next year. So I hope I didn't forget anything. On behalf of the committee, it's been an extraordinary night. Congratulations again to all the inductees. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you.